actually. And the first scene is actually a song.
Who's singing?
Now, I don't know if you're aware, but there is one song that you are allowed to perform in the play version of Blood Brothers.
Who's singing it?
And the opening scene is that song. However, it's not just a song where somebody just stands there and sings. It's the whole story. It tells the story, actually, of the whole story of what happens. So it's almost like part of the narration. The song is sung by Mrs. Johnson. So if you're going to Mrs. Johnston, then you will be singing that song. However, Fiona and I were in a discussion, and we'd like to build this up as quite a big number at the beginning to give it a lot of kind of weight right at the start. So you will actually, the whole ensemble will be part of that number, okay? So it's going to be a big opening number. So, but the only person that really sings, you all will sing little bits and pieces, and there's little kind of interjections of speech in between it as well. But the main song is sung by Mrs. Johnston. So if you're going for Mrs. Johnston, you need to be prepared to sing that song, and it's got to be sung with a Liverpool accent, okay? And I'm gonna be kind of lead that. So, but you'll have lots of help, lots of support with that. So don't think, oh, I can't go to Mrs. Johnston because I can't do that. You can't do it yet. Remember, okay?
And maybe, you know, it is going to really stretch and challenge you, but actually that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Quite unusual in a play to have a song, but we were quite excited when we found out that this song is the only song that actually is allowed in the whole play.
And you will all sing together at some point, which is absolutely brilliant skill to develop for an actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's do that. So, page 14.
Obviously, just Mrs. Johnson could just say the lines at the moment.
Yes, we will understand.
We're not going to sing at this point.
Actually, yeah, just stand up and sing it.
Yeah,
All right then, Act 1, Scene 1. So the narrator.
So, did you ever hear the tale of the Johnson twins? As like each other as new pins, of one womb born on the self-same day, how one was kept, one given away. Did you ever hear the tale of that young mother, who stood and watched brother parted from brother, who saw her children wrenched apart, a woman with a stone in place of a heart? Then bring her on, come on, let's see, the author of such cruelty, and judge for ourselves this terrible sin. Bring on the mother, let the story begin.
The mother enters, she's 30 but looks 60. The rest of the cast, including the narrator, lay down a vocal backing reminiscent of the Ink Spots for Prep. You can use that as a bit of research. Very ritzy harmony, enjoying themselves in their routine. The mother sings extremely directly and matter-of-factly, almost in contrast to her backing.
Once I had a husband, you know, the sort of chap. I met him at a dance, and how he came with the chat. He said my eyes were deep blue pools, my skin as soft as snow. He told me I was sexier than Marilyn Monroe, and we went dancing.
Bob.
Oh, we went dancing. Then of course I found out that I was 6 weeks overdue. We got married at the registry, and then we had a do. We all had curly salmon sandwiches, and how the aisle did flow. Then they said the bride was lovelier than Marilyn Monroe, and we went dancing.
Oh, we went dancing.
Then the baby came along. We called him Darren Wayne. Then 3 months on, I found out that I was in the cut again. And though I still fancied dancing, my husband wouldn't go, because the wife said, was twice the size of Marilyn Monroe. No more dancing.
No more dancing.
By the time that I was 25, I looked 40, with 7 hungry mouths to feed and one more nearly due. My husband had walked on me a month or 2 ago for a girl, they said, who looks a bit like Marilyn Monroe, and they go dancing.
Yes, they go dancing.
Oh, they go dancing.
Oh, they go dancing. Yes, they go dancing.
The backers and the mother go into a little step routine. The mother turns invitingly to one of the backers, expecting him to dance, but he rudely cuts into the melody and lays a milkman's hat on his head.
I've had enough of your hard luck story, love.
Look, honest, I'll pay you next week. I know I've said.
But next week never comes, as far as you're concerned, love. With you, it's always next week.
But I start a job next week. I'll have money coming in. I'll be able to pay you. You can't stop the milk. I need the milk. I'm pregnant.
Well, don't look at me, love. I might be the milkman, but it's nothing to do with me. No money, no milk.
The mother stands staring as he rejoins the chorus, removing his milkman's hat. The chorus becomes the voices of kids. Kid 1, Louis.
Good one.
Mum.
Oh, and the baby's
It's
crying.
Mum. Mum.
Oh, right.
Mum, the baby's crying.
The baby's crying.
Yours
He wants a
gone.
bottle. Well, what?
Where's the milk?
Yeah, where's my... I'm sorry.
Guys, can we not distract each other?
No,
please?
you're all right.
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah.
You want to go back to that line again, Louis?
Alright, sure.
Yeah.
Alright, Mum. The baby's crying. He wants a bottle. Where's the milk?
How come I'm on free dinners, Mum? All the other kids laugh at me.
Hey mother, I'm starving, there's nothing in.
Mum, there's no bread. Mum, I can't sleep, I'm hungry.
Singing alone.
So just say it, yeah.
Yeah.
I know
That's
it's
everything
hard with
said.
you kids, but try and get some sleep. Next week I'll be earning. There's loads of stuff to eat. There'll be mince and spuds and bread and cakes when I bring home the dough. We'll live like kings, like bright young things, like Marilyn Monroe. We'll go dancing.
She hums a few bars of the tune and dances. Act 1, Scene 3. As she dances, she acquires brush and dusters and mop buckets, props list, and scene changes into a working situation. The mother busily working and humming the melody. Mrs. Lyons, her employer, enters, bright, breezy, early 30s. She carries a small parcel.
Hello, Mrs. Johnson. How are you? How are you enjoying the job?
Oh, it's smashing. Thank you, Mrs. Lyons. It's such a lovely house. It's a pleasure to clean it.
Yes, it's a pretty house, isn't it? It's a pity it's so big. I'm finding it rather large at present.
With Mr. Lloyd being away.
So it's
Mr.
Lyons.
Yeah, don't worry, I think you're wrong every
Lyons.
Mr. Lyons away with that. Yeah, when does he get back? Mr. Lyons.
Oh, let me see. The company sent him out for 9 months. That means, what, he'll be back in about 5 months?
You'll be glad, won't you? The house will feel empty until he's back.
Actually, Mrs. J, we bought such a large house for the children. We thought children were going to come along.
Oh gosh, I don't think I'm on the right bit.
Page 18.
You're
Where's
right.
that?
I don't know what to do.
You can't have any.
No, I'm afraid. I wanted to adopt, but Mr. Lyons says as well. He says he always wanted his own son, not someone else's. Myself, I believe that an adopted child can become one.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Here, you can't have kids, and me. I can't stop having them. Me, husband, used to say, that's so weird. Used to say that we all had to shake hands, and I'd be in the club again. I'm expecting another one, you know. Oh look, it's alright. I'll still be able to do some work. Having babies is like clockwork to me. I'm back on the feet, working the next day. If I have it at the weekend, I won't even need to take a day off. I love this job, you know. We can just get by now, you know. Well, I'll go and do the bathroom now.
She is stopped as Mrs. Lyons put the new shoes from the parcel on. She is unwrapped on the table.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Mrs. Lloyd, what are you doing?
What's wrong here? Sit down. What's wrong?
The shoes.
What's wrong with them?
On the table. Take them off. Oh God, never put new shoes on the table, Mrs. Lloyd. You never know what will happen.
Oh, you mean it's
Superstition.
superstitions. You're superstitious, are you?
No, but you never put new shoes on the table.
Oh, go on with you. If it will make you happy, I shall put them away.
She exits. The mother approaches the table, wearing. She half absently rubs the spot on which the shoes were standing.
There's shoes on the table, a joker in the pack. The salt was spilled and the mirrors crack. There's one lone magpie overhead. I'm not superstitious, the mother said. No, I'm not superstitious, the mother said.
Immediately, the actor who played the milkman enters.
What are you doing here?
This won't be the milkman, so we'll split these roles, okay? So where it says that it's like multi-rolling, we won't do that because obviously we need more parts for you guys.
The milk bill isn't due till Friday. I don't owe you anything.
We can have
Actually-
Alyssa
Oh, see now it would have to be the same person because of the way that line is written.
Bit of artistic license.
Well, yeah, okay.
Okay, let's keep going.
Actually, I've given up on the medicine. I've given up on the milk and gone into medicine. Is this gynecologist?
Gynecologist. He
I'm
places the
gyne-
funnel on her belly to
I'm
listen
your-
to the baby.
Where am I
Sorry.
starting from?
Okay, mummy.
Read that. Okay, Mummy, let's have a listen to the baby's ticker, shall we?
The mother, as the gynecologist,
Gynecologist.
God, it's hard words. Shifts from position to position, making knowing noises.
I was dead worried about having another mouth to feed, you know, doctor. But I'll be alright now. I've got a little job. And if I'm careful, we can scrape by, even if there's going to be another mouth to feed.
Mouths, Mrs. Johnson.
Eh?
Plural.
Mouths. You're going to have twins. Congratulations.
Okay, so sorry, he exits as Mrs. Lyons enters to find the mother dusting the table at 1 scene 5.
Hello, Mrs. Joe. You're here early, aren't you?
I had it all worked out. We were just getting straight. With one more baby we could have managed, but not with two. The welfare's already been on me. They say I'm incapable of controlling the kids I've already got. They say I should put some of them into care, but I won't because I love them. I love the bones of every one of them. I'll even love these two twins, but they say at the welfare kids can't live on love alone.
You're expecting twins.
The woman freezes as Cole is the narrator, setting the Bible on the table.
How quickly an idea planted can take roots and grow into a plan. Before conceived in this very room, grew as surely as a seed in a mother's womb.
Give one of them to you.
Yes, yes.
But how?
When are you due?
Well, think. It's but Mrs. Lloyd, what?
Lions.
Lion. I keep doing it wrong.
Think of Ryan.
Got
Quickly, tell me when you're due.
About December the 15th.
1 week before my husband gets back. He need never guess. Look, you're 5 months pregnant, or you're only just beginning to show. Look, I'm only just beginning to show. I could have just got pregnant before he went away. I didn't tell him the case. I miscarried. I didn't want him to worry while he was away. When he arrives home, I tell him, the doctors were wrong. I have a baby. Our baby. Look.
A pregnancy.
Oh, Mrs. Johnson, it will work. I know it will.
But look, I don't know if...
You said yourself. You said you had too many children.
I know, but I don't know if I want to give one away.
Already, you're being threatened by the welfare. With 2 more, how will you avoid some of them being put into care? Surely, Mrs. Johnson, it's better to give one child to me than to have some of them taken into care. If he's with you, you'll still be able to see him each day.
Mrs. Lyons gives her a moment in which to think. The mother, anxious, chewing her bottom lip, turning and looking around.
He'd have a good life if he grew up here, wouldn't he? I'd still have the other one. And you do want the baby, don't you? He'd be able to play on those lawns, wouldn't he? And have his own room and...
If he grew up here, as our son, he could have everything.
The mother stares and thinks. Mrs. Lyons hardly dares to breathe. Eventually, almost imperceptibly, the mother nods.
Yes?
Yeah?
Oh, Mrs. Johnson, I could dance.
Indeed, she does a few steps waltzing, the mother who inhibited and slightly embarrassed laughs at this expression of joy.
Oh, Mrs. Lyons, you are pleased.
No.
Suddenly, swiftly changing key.
But no one must ever know. Certificates can be arranged. I can pay. No one must ever know. Do you agree?
Well, if...
Put your hand on this.
But...
We have to do it like this, Mrs. Johnson. We have to say these words. At the birth of my twins.
At the...
Yes. Go on. At the birth of my twins.
At the birth of my twin... Oh, I can't do this.
Come on, you know it's for the best. At the birth of my twins, I shall give one of the children to Jennifer J. Lyons.
I shall give one of the children to Jennifer J. Lyons.
And renounce all further claim on the said child.
And renounce all the claims on further claims on the said child.
Good.
The mother watches as Mrs. Lyons goes to the mirror and attends to the shawl beneath her dress. She looks at the result and obviously pleased with the effect.
I will be able to see him every day, won't I?
Oh yes, of course.
I don't suppose it's really giving one away then, is it? I mean, it'll just be like living in another house, won't it?
Yes. What do you think? Does it look right?
Well, it's a bit high for 5 months.
The mother moves and across and attends to the shawl in order to better suggest mid-term pregnancy.
Do you know, it's almost as though I can feel the child growing inside me.
It's only a shawl.
I'm going to the shops.
I always do the shopping.
No, I want to do the shopping from now on.
She exits, holding her belly proudly before her. The mother stands staring and thinking, absently touching the table, and with her other hand her belly.
Act 1, Scene 6. Please have Kieran as narrator.
How quickly those who've made a pact can quickly come to look over the fact. Oh, that the reckoning can be delayed, but a debt is a debt and must be paid.
The mother, bright and cheerful, fussing over the cots, when suddenly there is an extremely loud and insistent knocking on the door. The mother, startled, apprehensive, she turns as Mrs. Lyons, now fully pregnant, enters and glares at her. She sees the cot.
They're born. You didn't notify me.
Well, I didn't. I couldn't. I keep them just for a few more days, please. I mean, they seem to be a perfect pair. They sort of go together, and if...
My husband is due back tomorrow. I must have my baby now. You agreed, Mrs. Johnson. Look, we made a bargain. It's a bargain.
Yes. Yeah.
Like a deal.
You made a promise.
Knowing it's futile, turning away, back to the cots.
You better see which one you want.
Cautiously approaches the cot. She lets out a tiny gasp of excitement as she peers in.
Aww.
She ponders a moment.
I'll take the one with.
Don't tell me which one. Just take him.
Mrs. Lyons rapidly pulls out the padding beneath her dress. Among the padding is a shawl which she wraps around the baby before lifting it from the cot. She hurries to the door.
I'll see you next week.
I'm due back tomorrow.
Why? Why don't you take the week off? On full pay, of course.
The mother slowly nods as behind her Mrs. Lyons exits. Okay, Act 1, Scene 7. The mother... Go on, Lisa.
The mother turns and goes to her remaining twin. The remaining company become the voices of the kids. Kid 1.
Sorry.
That's you, Louis?
Yeah, that is. What am I right thing? Oh yeah, sorry. Where's the other 20, Mum?
Gone to live with your auntie in America. She'll look after him. We couldn't afford to keep him here. Not the two of them, love.
Have we got an auntie in America?
Yeah.
If you want to have a go at any Liverpudlian accents, then go for it.
Go on, guys, just try it. Just try it.
Hello?
Oh, thanks, God.
Kid 2.
Who?
Alyssa.
Oh, can I go? Huh? I'd take you today, love, but I've got to go to work.
Act 1, Scene 8. The mother turns to talk to the baby in the cot as Mrs. Lyons enters.
Ah, he's really coming on now, isn't he, Mrs. Lyons? I bet Mr. Lyons is dead proud of him, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Ah, he's lovely. Look, he wants to be picked up. I'll just...
No. It's alright, Mrs. Johnson. He's fine. He doesn't want to be picked up.
Ah, but look, he's...
If he needs picking up, I shall pick him up.
Ah, look, he must be wet.
Goes to pick up the child. Mrs. Lyons intervenes.
Leave him. Just leave him. You're always bothering him, fussing over him.
I'm sorry, I just...
Yes, I know. I know what you're doing, but you won't, because Edward is my son. Mine, Mrs. Johnson.
Oh, I know, I just...
Mr. Lyons and I have been talking it over. Mrs. Johnson and we both think it would be better if you left.
What? Left where?
Your work has deteriorated. You're just not happy with it.
But I work the way I've always worked.
Yes, well, I'm sorry. I'm not satisfied.
What will I do? How am I going to live without my job?
Yes, I thought of that. Here's
Pushes money into the hands of the stunned mother.
it's a lot of money, but we don't want you to suffer.
Thinking, desperate, trying to get it together.
Okay, alright, Mrs. Lyons. Right, if I'm going right, well, I'm taking Edward with me. I'm taking my son.
She goes to the cot, but is roughly dragged away.
Oh no, you're not. Edward is my son.
I'll tell someone. I'll tell the police. I'll bring the police in and...
No, you won't. You gave your baby away. Don't you realise what a crime that is? You sold your baby.
The mother, horrified, throwing the wad of notes from her.
I didn't. You told me. You said I could see him every day. Well, I'll tell someone. I'm going to tell.
As she tries to exit, she's stopped by Mrs. Lyons, grabbing her and wheeling her about.
Oh no, you will not. Because if you tell anyone, and these children learn of the truth, then you will know what will happen, don't you? You know what they say about twins secretly parted, don't you?
What?
They say that if either twin learns he was one of a pair, they shall both die immediately. It means, Mrs. Johnson, that these brothers shall grow up unaware of their existence. They shall be raised apart and never, never ever told what was once the truth. You won't tell anyone, Mrs. Johnson, because if you do, you shall kill them.
Mrs. Lyons grabbed the money and thrust it into the mother's hands. Mrs. Lyons breathing heavily, relieved. The mother shocked. Mrs. Lyons exits as the narrator enters.
Okay, what we're doing is looking at how time we're going to carry on.
That is the end of Act 1 now.
That was intense.
That's the end of Act 1.
So it comes to a natural end, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, great, well done. Let's take our break. We'll see you at 11 o'clock.
Oh, just want to get
Thank you.
just want to get